I liked the previous series that guy was in, 6 Feet Under, especially the first season. The first season of 6 Feet Under might be one of the most perfect seasons of any first seasons of any television show ever.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
The writing is so good. The premise is so well established, and even with that, there are twists along the way that you
don't expect.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Dexter's like that too, but then a couple things get a little predictable.
Well, they did this new season to sort of erase the memory of the last season where the guy who was the original showrunner and creator was not involved.
Yeah. Why is that just like the norm? Like
that
Star Wars.
Leave?
I mean, I get contracts and money and maybe creativity, because what we always forget about, like directors and producers, like they're creatives. They're humans. And so if they're burnt out and maybe they did run out of ideas or, I understand that, but it just seems like such the norm with like Game of Thrones and even like Star Wars stuff or whatever. Everyone just like...
With having tried to create powerlifting content with some regularity since 2006, and podcasting with great regularity since late 2008.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, 2013. Pardon me. 8 years. So it's hard. It gets hard. It's hard. You run out of ideas, and you need to keep pivoting toward different things. And then when you do that, people bitch at you, and
you can never win. And I do understand. Also, everyone gets mad. Not too in some things that like everything's a remake or everything's a sequel, but like movies were new in 1950. You know what I mean? Like now, like it's hard to come up with anything you do. It's hard to come up with an original idea.
Yeah.
Right? People say there's no such thing.
But
and then even that, you know what I mean? To come like fucking left field out of nowhere. You seen the series Y-O-U?
I haven't seen it, no.
So first season I thought was really kind of like you just said, maybe not the perfect thing, but like really good. Shit you didn't expect, left field, and you really feel a type of way about all this. And then season 2 and 3, it feels like every other kind of like murder show I've ever seen. Just like the normalist, and it's fine. Like I'll watch it, but it's not like
it falls into a pattern.
Yeah, the first one you're like, oh dang, this is kind of crazy. And Dexter's kind of like that too. And Dexter's a little bit older too, but I don't know. Game of Thrones, right? Is based on a book, and so that hits pretty good. And you get like more info already when you're a director, right?
Yeah,
you have this piece of work that you're manipulating. I don't know.
But I think too, like if you're a writer, if you do music, whatever, the first thing you did is the one you've been holding on to and reworking and whatever forever.
Yeah.
The next one is the one that's hard.
Right, because now you're trying to back up or play off of, or Ozark's another one.
Yeah.
But I think all three rip. I love all 3 seasons.
The third season is darker than I wish it was.
You wanted it to keep...
I needed more of a balance between dark and light, and there's just almost no light in season 3 of Ozark.
Yeah, maybe it'll come back, maybe not. It does also... I agree. I don't mind it, though. Just because when I look at Bateman, I kind of feel light, regardless. Because in that whole thing, he's not like comedic like he is in other stuff, but he's kind of dry.
He is
like,
super
you know
dry.
what I mean? Which is kind of funny, even though it shouldn't be.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast that he does. It's called Smartless. He does it with Will Arnett, who does a million voices, and then Sean Hayes, who was in Will and Grace.
You know, weird big names like that have a podcast. Maybe it's just weird.
Well, they started it in lockdown.
Yeah.
So,
or what's the other one that rips or does a lot of downloads? Dax Shepard. And not that he's a huge name. He's like a B-C list guy, but it's just weird to me.
He made his name in podcasting. He was married to Kristen Bell, and people knew about him.
He's been in a million things, kinda.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sort of been. Yeah, he's been adjacent. He's been celebrity adjacent for a long time.
Yeah, he knows everybody, and he's in the scene, but he's not the guy. But that's like even in the beginning when like Kevin Hart and The Rock came to YouTube, I was like, this just feels weird.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing over here?
Yeah. And, obviously we've experienced, too, when you pivot, like, we've burned off a bunch of audience by not interviewing fitness influencers every week. We just have. It's just obvious. But our interests changed, and we have to follow the things that we can sustain.
Yeah, it'll be a shitty interview.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it'll be a shitty interview. And what are you going to do? I mean, you talk to the next Mr. Olympia, like he's eating the same chicken and rice the other dude's eating.
Yeah, well, yeah. And the thing is, though, that some part of the audience is always going to want that thing.
Yeah.
regardless of how shitty you do it.
Right. Or the brand new audience. There's always a brand new audience.
There's always a brand new audience
who found their new favorite bodybuilder.
Yeah, and we don't. This I will freely admit as a producer, this is my fault. Like, this show doesn't have a lot of on ramp. We don't really. Like, we don't introduce ourselves at the beginning.
Fuck 'em.
Yeah, you pretty much have to know who we are, whatever.
Yeah.
When I listen to, Massonomics podcast, they came after us.
Yeah.
They patterned themselves somewhat after things we used to do, and they are so much more regimented like that. They introduce themselves, they run their ads, all that stuff, and
fuck them. We could do it.
We could do all those things. I just don't know how much it would help.
That too, and I do feel like at the end of the day, the point of YouTube and podcasts is that you are just you.
Yeah.
And that's what you and I are doing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm real good at being me. I've said this many times on Twitter. I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm really good at being me.
Yeah.
Which sounds stupid, but I honestly think people aren't. They don't know who they are.
I agree with that.
Right? So then same idea. Like, you do a podcast like, oh, I love Joe Rogan. Then you try to do your podcast like Joe Rogan. Like, bitch, you ain't Joe Rogan. You don't have that. So why don't you just be you?
Yeah.
But people don't know who they are.
Yeah, people don't. Yeah, exactly.
There's your philosophy, kids.
And I used to say that if somebody is doing long form podcasting, you're seeing who they are. There's like no chance that there's nothing, that there's other stuff going on with it. But when I look backwards, I know that is not true.
I think
people who we're going to sociopathic or whatever, they can keep up any front forever.
I think you get to know. Well, if we're going sociopath or psychopath, that's a whole different conversation because, their life is not being them.
Yeah.
Right? That, like, the goal of a psychopath is to not show his true colors.
Right.
Or her true colors.
Right.
But I think you're right still, and I've said the same thing with live streaming, or you can, like, have a gimmick and, like, rev up. But if you're not only doing long format, but you do long format for a long time, because you could do 3 episodes or 3 hours and put on an act, right? That's called a movie.
Yeah,
and they're literally acting. But if you do long format content for a decade, probably not hiding much.
No, I think that it's true. Well,
the sociopath, I agree. Well, the sociopaths or the psychopath's only skill is to not be them.
Right.
And so then, of course, they can do it.
And then there's a certain segment of audience that doesn't want to believe anything that's incongruous with the image that they already have in their head.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's it's going to sound stupid when I say it, but it was kind of an aha moment to me that no one knows you ever because they only know the perception of you, and you never know what their perception is of you. So who you think Mike is and who Mike thinks Mike is are different humans.
Different things.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah. And so, like, that's kind of the content thing. The whole world could see, and each individual will perceive you differently.
Yeah.
Something I say really pisses this person off, and something I say really resonates with this person. And then how I think I say it is all different too.
Right. And you might have a pretty good hit rate with most people, but some people are not going to get it.
Right. And that's creating content, being an actor, being a comedian, is that you hit a majority. Yeah. And if you hit a majority, you grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you get a niche, or you get a whatever, because enough people understand your humor, your communication style, your whatever.
Yeah. I saw somebody commenting on one of the episodes of Topic Thunder, our Friday show, which is a 10-minute panel show. It's different than this show because we're not trying to we're trying to have a discussion. We're trying to have a fun discussion about a particular topic and bring up particular issues and opinions and things like that. That it's not this show. It's just an extension of this show, but it's not the basic premise of the show.
Or maybe what we used to do, which is slightly more educational or whatever.
Right. Also, with this show and then in the past.
YouTube or whatever.
Yeah. Right. I saw somebody complaining on one of those episodes on your
they're all
I
mad.
was like, oh yeah, your content's really fallen down. I was like, no, it's just different than what you expected, but it's fine content.
Well, and the same thing, I did 8 years of how to deadlift, and that's like I wrote a college course on my YouTube channel on how to deadlift, or other people's channels being featured. Like,
right.
Yeah, man, I'm not going to teach you a block pull anymore. It's not.
Yeah.
In person, you come in. We have a bunch of members that pick my brain all day long. Yeah, I'm going to help you. I'm going to answer your questions, but I'm not going to sit down and talk to a camera by myself about deadlifting again. Never going to do it. I'll bash my head against the wall.
I totally understand that. And
at a seminar, sure, right? Coaching, sure. It's not that I'm done educating or coaching or helping,
right?
But I'm definitely done talking to my damn self about it.
Yeah, and the people who are new to something, are the people who want that kind of deep
Right.
divey whatever, and the people who are good at producing that kind of content.
Yeah.
Probably going to reap more of those people.
And there's some people that are just better than me. Yeah, Jeff Nippard goes hard. That dude literally does produce a college fucking science project on each video. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I could. I have the resources. I have the knowledge. I have the experience. But I just don't want to do that in terms of content. It's not fun for me. And then, yeah, I agree. There's always new people. But what blows my mind is whoever left that comment and whatever. But that person's seen all my old stuff.
Yeah.
So you just want me to do my old shit again?
Yeah. Is there
right?
You're gonna play
you're not over it either?
Yeah. There's only so much of the greatest hits that we can tolerate, I guess.
Yeah, just go back and watch the other ones if you love them so much. What's it's a dumb meme. There's all I love Instagram. Someone said going on Instagram feel like a mall that's closing really slowly? I'm like, kinda.
It does to a certain extent.
No, it definitely does.
That's true, and things go in waves though, and so who knows?
Sure.
I noticed they changed the way the timeline works.
They switch everything every day. My buttons look different every day. I think they're just grasping for air.
So if you're subscribed to someone, and what they're doing primarily is Reels, or if they're doing primarily IGTV, those will be in your timeline.
Yeah.
And then you have to go to IGTV to see a bunch of other people's stuff,
random.
or Reels to see a bunch of other people's stuff.
Yeah, you click the Reel button and now you're on TikTok, but you're on Instagram, but it's all the same.
So I guess it kind of guarantees that you see everything that's, well, not as a guarantee, but it makes it more likely that you will see everything that.
But it's still fucked algorithm. Like, if you follow someone new, all their shit shows up for like a month.
Yeah.
And you just everyone else disappears.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I didn't like him that much. I liked him enough to follow him, but it's not all I wanted to see. Like, it's all fucked. But long story short, there's a meme. And like all these philosophical whatever memes, like some are like they're good. It's true.
Yeah.
I just don't want it posted. Every motherfucker's posting it everywhere.
Yeah.
But it said something like, oh, you think I've changed? That was the point.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't like you no more. You've changed. Like, yes. I was 23 when I first podcasted. Now I'm 33 when I'm now podcasting. Like, hopefully something changed.
Yeah, something changed along the way. I grew. You either grew with me or you didn't. Yeah.
That's my dude who's leaving the comment. Like, yeah, man, I'm not doing a deadlift video for the 1,000th time. Over 1,000th time.
Yeah. Yeah. And... honestly, this is all related to the topic that we're
mind control
today. Very much mind control. But I people can put names and faces behind this all they want to, but I'm going to share a story. There was a time when I was in a Sprinter van in LA with a group of people working on a podcast in 2017, and the lead personality of that podcast is filming. Or is being filmed at night in this Sprinter van, talking to someone on Instagram, like voice on Instagram, about their depression, their potential suicidal thoughts, their just general disappointment with themselves, can't figure out how to get shit going, whatever. And this is being filmed as content.
Yeah. And intimate.
And
dangerous.
And I'm wondering, did this Sprinter van jump a shark back there? Yeah. Because it sure feels like it. Yeah. And it's when people who are not qualified to do stuff like that do it and don't say, like, be inspired by if we fit together in that way, if things I say fit together with things you need to hear, then that's great.
Right. Lending a helping hand's different than maybe trying to put on a professional hat.
That's exactly it.
Or a shoulder.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And what we have in parts 2 and 3 of The Way Down is a lot of that stuff. People
all that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff.
That's, I guess, the main thing that popped in my head. But it's hard. So I grew up in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And although the Catholic Church has a very tainted name publicly, especially by millennials, I feel like they fucking just say it's all bad, you know? But, like, there's good. There's good. I think I have good morals because I have dope parents and because I went to the Catholic Church, right? Like, some of the core stuff is great. Some of the core values is great. And the big picture of religion, I also am not that much against. I don't go to church no more. I don't claim anything. Stopped when I was 18. But there's a lot of things I've even thought about when I have kids that there's maybe some kind of regimen in religion that I would want my kids to be a part of. The negative, obviously, there's tons of scandals, but that's any group, and especially when you get millions of people, right? There's scandals in the NFL. There's scandals in, you name powerlifting. Right. Powerlifting's a much smaller group. There's scandals everywhere. But with religion, because of the Bible, I guess, I don't know, maybe you have a better thought, it does teach you everything you're supposed to do. Right? How to raise kids, how to eat, how to live, how to write.
Subject to interpretation.
Well, that's why there's more than one.
Right.
If there was no subject to interpretation, there'd only be one religion.
And some of those things are taken as, you know, to be about a particular thing that were not necessarily written
for
to be
sure.
About a particular thing.
But the Bible does touch on every aspect of life, and how you interpret it is what makes Mormon, Lutheran, Catholic, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd all just agree, say, yep, that is the law.
Yeah.
It's not a law, right? It is interpretation. But my point is that it touches on every aspect. And so it gets extreme when this chick starts to tell you how to raise your kids.
Yeah.
But, like, the Bible and things do try to... They talk about family, and they talk about... You know what I mean? So, like... You watch, if you have no religious background, you've never been to church, you never grew up in this stuff, and you watch this, you're like, oh, cult. But in my head, I'm getting this argument like, yeah, this bitch is clearly fucking nuts. But if you're really Catholic and you're having trouble with a teenager, you might go to your priest and try to get some advice. Right. Like, it's not unheard of.
Although your priest, by definition of being a priest, has no experience raising teenagers or any other children.
For sure in the Catholic Church.
That you know about, that they claim out in public.
But that's a hard argument, too, though, anywhere you go.
Yeah.
That do you have to have hands-on experience to be the best?
Yeah.
Right?
I think
some of the best sports coaches of all time were shit players or never played.
I don't think you have to have hands-on experience to have insight. I think that if you're building a whole program of something, you better have hands-on experience.
One, the issue, obviously, with this movie is that the fucking chick just says beat him.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
there's no
exactly.
like, hey, you know, this psychology, your kids tend to do this, or you know, is literally beat them, lock them in a closet for 3 days.
Yeah, this just to recap, this is Gwen Shamblin Lara and her husband, her second husband. And then just sort of the guy who was kind of the other male leader inside the church, sort of disciplinarian.
Teddy Anger?
Ted Anger. Angers.
Teddy Anger.
Tried to pronounce it French, Angers, so that's not, I don't think that's really how you pronounce it in French, but essentially telling these parents to beat their children into submission. Like,
yeah.
There are a lot of people who used to believe that. There are fewer people who believe it now. Evidence would indicate that it may work okay with some kids, and it's very detrimental to other kids.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't think you mean beat them. I mean
no,
spanking.
I don't. Spanking, but they're talking about like beating.
They're talking to those like fucking grabbing a candle and slapping some kids.
Glue sticks.
What a weird thing, right?
Glue sticks. Like
you've heard of was a switch the southern term?
Yeah. Go cut me a switch.
I understand that, or you know, a belt. I get that. Those are like common themes, or a wooden spoon. Common themes. A fucking candle. Or a glue stick? An extra long glue stick?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
I've never even seen an extra long glue stick. So
I
don't
have
really know,
because my mom's really into arts and crafts, and so you get like an industrial-looking glue gun, and you'd have a huge, that's why I keep thinking candle, because it's fucking the size of a long candle, and it's in the back of your glue gun.
Okay.
When they described it, I was like, yeah, I've seen that.
And the way the story rolls out, like there's like dark clouds surrounding this one poor kid who you hear from a church babysitter.
Was she part of the church? That's what I maybe didn't understand, or just kind of worked there.
That was not clear.
It sounded like a summer job, which is weird.
It sounded, I couldn't tell. She was taking care of like 15 to 20 kids during a service.
Yeah.
And she had been doing that for a while. And after this one incident where a parent that was part of this church just beat the shit out of this kid.
But he told her to.
Yeah, he told her to, and he said, "No, I won't." She said, "I will not do that."
What a weird thing.
I don't feel comfortable doing that.
I don't have kids. I don't have like babysitting experience. I've never babysat. I mean, I like coached kids and stuff, but like, nope. And even that, like, I've coached anywhere from 4th grade up to senior in high school in basketball, whether it be camps or practice, no parent ever like came in and told me what I could or couldn't do.
Yeah.
Like, and I was obviously in my small community, and so people knew me and stuff, but like there's just kind of like human rules that I followed.
Yeah.
I just followed the rules of human.
Just a little basic morality.
But the parents
like,
didn't tell me one way or another.
Yeah.
Like, hey, go tough on my kid. Like, no one ever, not even once said anything of the nature.
Yeah.
And that's why I was hired, is they probably trusted me to do my job.
And not do crazy shit.
And you would seem, it would be the same with a babysitter, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, you give them some rules. Like, hey, little Timmy can't have ice cream after 9 or some shit.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like, beat him? Hard, I believe was what he said.
Yeah. Hard.
You know.
Beat him and beat him and beat him.
Yeah.
And so, later in the story, the kid dies. And
Yeah. It makes me think that the girl wasn't a part of the church, because she said right after that she never came back.
she never came back.
Where I feel like if you bought into this shit, you're in for a while.
And I didn't know if never came back meant I didn't come back and babysit again,
Yeah.
or if it meant I left the church. It was not clear.
That's why I
it
think
doesn't seem easy to leave this church, which is
Right.
another story.
That's why I thought she was only a babysitter.
Yeah.
And left just her job, which is also weird, though. Why wouldn't you grab some girl that's already sipped the tea?
That's a good
Or
question.
Kool-Aid. Tea,
Yeah.
I guess, is a different topic now.
Tea's just information.
Yeah, depending on what liquid you drink is.
That
depending.
one snuck up on me. I didn't see that one coming at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
Spill the tea. I get it, but I don't get it.
Yeah, the gossip. Yeah, I don't know. Kool-Aid makes sense too, because it's what's his name, right? Like, that's a little more in your face.
Jim Jones.
Yeah.
Flavor Aid, I think, in that case, but everybody thinks it's Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
So, that was a weird scenario. Another cult.
Yeah.
Another cult, and I think that one of the misconceptions about that is that everybody drank it willingly. Like maybe up to half or more of them were forced.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Makes sense though.
Yeah, but they all sort of knew things. Yeah. That's being a part of the issue, that they knew things.
What surprised me also in this is they talk about her marriage with this dude, or her second husband, or whatever, the Tarzan guy, is that he was just kind of like a fuck up.
Yeah, until he found this.
Right, but like, why is she doing that? Because like, at least in the first episode, they go more into her diet career rather than her church. Her church career does seem very involved with just that church, just in her town. So it seems very local and very, not small-timey, but small-timey. A cult can't be national. I mean, I guess it could.
Well, it can.
But a cult, you're probably going to her church if you're sipping this Kool-Aid.
Probably so, because that kind of control.
Right. You're bought in.
Yeah.
Or you're moving there if you're national. If you're in
Right.
California, you believe in her that much, you're moving to Tennessee to go to her worship every day.
Right.
But her book, I mean, she's on fucking CNN and Letterman or whatever.
Right.
It's so national, and then she got rich off of that, it seems. And obviously she kept selling those things while she was becoming a church leader. Point being is, if she's on this scale of like wealth or celebrityhood, why is she with F-list Tarzan van riding bum?
I think it has to be because she thought she could control him. And
he
would parrot whatever message that
a parrot
that
move.
she gave him.
He's good looking enough, parrot move, and he had some kind of Hollywood-esque-ish bullshit background for her prestige enough.
I think it's easier to figure out why she dumped the first husband, because he was on the verge of just calling bullshit on
Maybe
everything.
being normal.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't want to be involved in that weird ass thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, because like he had an actual like religious education and was a minister. He was you know.
Some things they mention in the show are just kind of weird, right? They go off about her eldest son, I think, being the musician, and you're like, I guess it's not weird. I guess it's weird they mention it to me. I guess it's weird how they tried to frame it. Like, this kid wasn't into the religion, and he's a musician, and he's depressed. I'm like, yeah. Like, right? Like, why'd you make this a big... Like, look at his fucking mom. Like, this picture, I don't know if you can show it on the screen or not. We're having issues. But you look at the cover of the show, or the cover of the documentary, and then you show her in the 90s. Like, it's not like she's smoking hot, but she's like a normal Southern-looking lady. And then turns into, like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Like a horror character. It looks like the Scream mask. She looks like the Scream mask with a wig. Like, it's the scariest face. And then the other thing, even the people that, a lot of the interviews are of people that have left the church, obviously, for obvious reasons, and a lot of them just mention her hair. Yeah, they don't really say like, no, she turned into a scary witch. Like, they just say like her hair got taller.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, like, do you see her? Like, it's not just me. Like, look at her fucking face.
Yeah.
She looks so scary.
Yeah, like the interview from the probably 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
She has normal makeup and normal hair.
Even her face is normal.
And then the more recent stuff. I mean, this is a little. I think that they've caricatured this a little bit, but for the most part, this is how she looks.
Yeah, because we saw video of it, and it looks pretty damn similar.
Exactly. Her makeup is considerably more extreme, and her hair is bizarre.
And her face is just, and obviously she got older, but there's had to be plastic surgery or something's going on because her face just looks so, and she's so unhealthy looking. She looks like 10 years older. She's probably, what, I don't know, 50, 60. She looks 70, 80. Like, she looks scary.
Yeah, she looks old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And somewhere along the line, this whole thing became about control of everything.
Yeah.
Not just the food, whatever. And that, but like probably the most disturbing thing was not wanting people to take their medications for psychological conditions, and anxiety, depression.
So that's what I was trying to get, where my conflict internal of like my religious, why I think religion's okay in some instances, or cool or good, and how some of them are controlling of your lives. Because humans are fucking messes. We kind of need these borders, right? You need a moral border somewhere. It's got to come from somewhere. A teacher, a mentor, a parent, a religion, right? Otherwise, you can go down the wrong road in life. You don't know societal norms. And so, like, I understand sometimes when a religion or a leader or a basketball coach or someone tells you some things and teaches some things, like, yeah, man, this is how we deal with this. That's just growing up, right, as an adolescent and a teenager. And so, like, how controlling the religion gets, I guess I could say I understand that if you're bought in, why you would allow it to. Because some people say, like, oh, I just go to church, but I don't listen to they don't control what I do outside the church, or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I understand, or like, is it even Mormons? Like, they're not supposed to drink caffeine, and they're not, right? Like, I understand that in some instances. And so if you believe in God or your sect of religion so much, you would follow it because you want it to be right. And it's the same thing with like any hobby you're down in. If you believe in lifting so much, you're going to take your creatine every day, and you're going to go to bed on time every day, and you're going to stop drinking alcohol purely because it affects your performance, or you know what I mean? I understand how these things can build.
Yeah. And see, that when I grew up in the church, like swearing was not a thing.
Yeah.
And alcohol was also not a thing because the Catholics are much happier without alcohol than Baptist variant Protestants,
Catholics,
like where I grew up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was in college, and I took a world religions course, and I found out about really a lot of different things, but like particularly Buddhism. It's like, oh, okay, I actually get this one
for sure.
This one makes sense to me in a way that none of this other stuff ever did, and I've been fed that since the time I could recognize English language, and I didn't become a Buddhist out of it. What I did was become a no longer Christian out of it.
Sure. Yeah, so I was raised Catholic until I was 18, but the high school I went to was obviously non-religious. And so in high school, I think even freshman year, we began to study each religion as a book, and then each religion as like a historic culture, which kind of same idea for me, opened my eyes to a lot of things, even Islam and a bunch of things, and learn a ton about it.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, the ugly, the otherwise, but you kind of, as much as you can, because anything you learn, read, is semi-biased or they could add truths or take away truths because it's all perspective, right?
Yeah.
But as much as we could look at it factually, we did. And that opened my eyes to a ton of shit too. And I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like, I understand, although this lady seemed forced to stop taking her depression meds, which is the main thing we're talking about here, and went crazy.
Yeah. She ended up in the hospital because she's not taking her depression meds.
But if you believe so much in manifestation or this or that or God or whatever, that you can change even people now, like even me, like I've been offered depression meds by many a therapist, and I said no, because I believe that I can fight things, and I know where I'm at on this scale, luckily so far, and so I get that. I guess I get where the lady could be sold into this, but then it started to become like forced,
right?
And then also because you're part of this small community in Tennessee where you live, where you hang out, your friends, that the social pressure, it becomes Mean Girls,
Right.
Where they're calling you fat, ugly, don't hang out with us until you get off your meds kind of deal. That's obviously much more negative than me caring for Jim as a human. Hey, man, these meds have some negative side effects. What do you think? You know, do you think you should take them or not? That's a much different conversation than how they forced it, I guess.
Yeah, the scariest part is the lack of any kind of tolerance for variation.
Right.
Everybody has to be exactly the same. And you know, part of the issue with psych meds is that some of them cause some people to gain weight.
Sure.
In a way that's pretty uncontrollable is not exactly the word I'm looking for, but difficult to control.
That's a lot of meds, even some birth control stuff or whatever, right? Like they got a lot of effects going on.
Right, for sure. And I guess I don't know if that's the thing that they were after, or if
her getting fat.
Yeah,
maybe,
or if it had to do with her ability to actually have self-confidence.
Yeah.
And not question, not question, or just not blindly accept everything that's being told, and
I think that's what it is to me. Just because this whole thing, which the movie does decent, they actually don't go that hard on it. They go hard on it, kind of being negative and controlling, but like it is just this chick's power trip, right? That's this entire fucking which makes sense for any cult, and not that there's not a power trip in other authorities and other communities or religions. Yeah. Some humans have power trips, but I think they can point to more reasons and explain to you why, hey, Jim, I don't think you should be taking this or whatever, where this is just a shame game. It's just a power, follow me shame game.
Yeah. And her husband came to the accommodation of, if I don't see you take it, then if they ask me about it, I can say, I haven't seen you take it. Yeah. Which is just really riding a line between the truth and the lie.
Well, is he even in the game then? Right, that's like that's like the whole moral truth. Like if you kill someone and no one finds out, you're still a fucking murderer. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so, I mean, he's just playing a semantic game for them to be able to still stay in it because they don't have an identity outside of it, I guess.
For sure. Also, probably don't have friends. They also probably don't have friends. And they mentioned how, and some of this, again, like you take it away, isolate it from the rest of this craziness, isn't that bad. Like it gets a little commune-y, but they're talking about like, oh, we have a mechanic in the church, so go to that mechanic. Yeah. Like I like some of that. You know, maybe it's because I grew up in a small community, but like, and maybe my dad was kind of loyal to that. Like maybe it's not the cheapest and maybe it's not the best work, but if my friend's a mechanic and he's good enough, I'm going to take my car there. Like I like that, and they make it a forced thing, obviously. Right. But I guess trying to play devil's advocate, I see how some of these people can buy into this. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I like that idea. Like my friend is a hairdresser. I want to go to my friend.
I like that idea, and I would rather have some kind of connection to someone I'm going to spend a reasonable amount of money with ahead of time, but it doesn't always work out. In fact, in my personal experience, it almost never works out in your favor.
Yeah, it can get muddy.
Yeah, and well, even if it's just like recommendations from neighbors, like I have not had one of those pan out in my life.
I don't do a lot of recommendations. If I know them, it's gone okay, I think. But I also judge that based on how close I know them and how I already kind of know their work, whatever they do. Recommendations often, I think, fail. Hey, man, this food's hella good. Like, bro, you got shit tasting pizza. This pizza sucks. Yeah. Even like that small is bad. But the other one is the divorce stuff, right? Which kind of, I think, plays into that depression. The guy looking away. They build a big story around multiple people, but especially one couple that got divorced, and then kind of you get kicked out by law. Like she's got money, and whether it's Gwen herself or somebody's buying lawyers to fight you against your spouse, because your spouse is more into the church than you are, and you basically get exiled that way. Right. Which probably played a role in that guy saying like, all right, don't ask, don't tell on these pills you're taking.
Yeah, I think that we talked a little bit last time about her second husband, Gwen's second husband's baby mama. Yeah. And the custody fight over that, spoiler alert, she actually gets some distance between them before they're killed in this plane crash. Yeah. She does successfully, you see interview with her about actually it's like, well, I get to live 50 miles away, so I'm going to live exactly 50 miles away. Yeah. And to try to protect my child from...
Which isn't that far, really.
It's not that far, no. Now we can't get to San Francisco in 50 miles.
Yeah,
from
but
here.
you're almost,
but not quite there.
Yeah, you're in the Bay-ish.
Yeah, ish. Yeah. Yeah. Just I understood where she was coming from, and what I don't completely understand is why because they essentially gave up.
Yeah.
Like she wore them down somehow, and I don't really know. She was more. It was more trouble than it was worth, or the fact that they wouldn't be able to use that kid as part of a communication campaign or whatever around kids of this thing, because the mom would always be contesting it.
Right.
In public, and so
that kind of seemed to start to be like her own issue with her own kids. Although how many kids she have? 3 or 4?
She had 2,
and then I guess the adopt step whatever. But they only really talked about that son. The eldest son.
Yeah, the son clearly was looking for a way out.
Yeah.
He was a talented, creative type, but at the same time, like he couldn't land anywhere.
Well, maybe I'm just an asshole, but like they're like, oh, he's like so talented, and then I hear his music. I'm like, dude, his voice wasn't good, and the music sucked.
His voice was terrible. I was okay with the music. His voice was terrible. The stepfather had a much better voice.
And like the fucking like music video-ish stuff they showed, I was like, this is, I know it's probably older, it's probably mid-2010s, but I was like, this sucks, this is corny as shit. What's going on? Like, because a couple of even people in the church that left, like, yeah, he was so talented, he needed to spread his wings. I was like, no, he sucks because he sucks.
At the very least, that was kind of the lore around him, was that he was talented. People told him he was talented.
And in this tiny community, which I just found out, my sister lived in this community.
What?
Yeah, she lived in Tennessee for like 2 or 3 years or something.
In this part of Tennessee?
She said she lived in Brentwood. I don't know if it's in this gated ass area,
Ashland is Brentwood's right there. Yeah. Did she know anything about this?
No, she didn't. But she just started watching this.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
And
she probably lived ish in this time. It was probably 2014, 15, 16.
Interesting.
Yeah, weird. The show does say be continued. We don't have to wrap this up if you have more ideas, but it popped in my head because it says to be continued because they just die.
Yeah, exactly. So clearly there's more that will come out about this. And the plane crash is being investigated. And like I said before,
2021, right? Literal.
Yeah, it was May of 2021. And it was the day that the other big like through line was and we talked about this last time, the couple whose daughter got involved with a somewhat older boy who was deep into this Remnant Fellowship church, and essentially just like seduced her away from her family and into the church, and she wanted to get married like in the church, and that this Gwen person was going to officiate, and her parents said, we will not go to your wedding if that's the case. Like this is a truism about negotiation. You have to be willing to entirely walk away.
Yeah. Anything you do, you're buying a car or your daughter's getting married somewhere crazy.
Yeah, you have to say, okay, well, fuck you then. Yeah, like, okay, well, this is over.
Yeah.
Like, I can't deal with this anymore. I will not do it your way. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so they caved, and you see video of the dad, walking the daughter down the aisle. But this is the same day that this plane crash happened.
Yeah.
And as long as he's not an airplane mechanic, I
was going to say they got to be investigated, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially after the show came out,
something happened. But it feels like the whole, the whole thrust of the thing is that social systems, while they do control behavior and they create expectation and all that stuff, they can also be really dangerous.
Yeah.
Depending upon who's leading them.
Yeah, intent. They also mention a bunch of like little things I feel like that they don't dig too deep into, but it might come out in season 2 or whatever, but they talk about like, oh, she like kind of stopped giving service. They were just traveling everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you're like, all right, they're traveling everywhere. And then obviously the plane crashes and he's a pseudo pilot, or he's a pilot of some nature. Yeah.
He's able to crash a plane.
It just blows my mind, right? Like, because I don't know much about that world by any means, but like everyone's like, dude, it's really hard to become a pilot and get your own license and get your own plane. And then like you see crazies like this guy, and he's not as crazy as her, but he's just like a fucking surfer bum, and he's a fucking pilot. And I'm like, that does seem kind of dangerous.
I had a friend in undergrad who he was probably a little bit younger than me at the time. He was probably, I don't know, 22, 23, something like that. But he actually had like a pilot's license. Yeah. And we and his family had, access to a plane or whatever. And we took a trip from the little airport that used to be in the Thomas area that I don't think is there anymore. To the Bay Area and back. I fucking threw up a whole way.
Sketches me out.
The whole way there.
Yeah.
Less on the way back, but on the whole way there. I don't like heights, and so that didn't really help. And
small planes are sketch.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a very young, although, I mean, he certainly was confident and seemed to know what he was doing or whatever, but it was really unnerving. Then I remember probably 5, 6, 7 years later, running into him at a grocery store, and he'd been in a motorcycle accident, and clearly his mentation was not what it was before. So my question was, is he still flying planes, or is he still riding motorcycles?
Yeah.
Or, you know?
Yeah, I'm out.
He was like, whoo. Yeah, he was just a little vacant and a lot slower than I ever remember. And he was, you know, he wasn't a Rhodes Scholar or anything at the time either. So, you know.
Yeah, maybe that's my...
going to a state school, folks, so...
Yeah, I'm not flying in any of that shit. But it's a common theme, too. Like, even, obviously, the Kobe thing, but, like, even last year, I think was it a singer or NASCAR? Somebody, whole family fucking crashed down. Like, shit happens all the time in these little-ass planes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I don't know the percentages. I'm talking my ass. I don't know if they actually are that much more dangerous, but it seems like it.
It's a lot of times it's doctors, because they have the disposable income to do it,
Sure.
or at least they did in an era when,
before
they had... you know, almost generational debt for medical school.
Yeah, or how far you climb the doctor ranks now.
Yeah.
You might still.
Yeah. As just a pivot and sort of to put a bow on this thing as well, I looked up, I'm gonna put a link in the show notes about this.
I was gonna say, so they I wish they would have interviewed him more, which I didn't know was a job. There was a cult
deprogrammer?
No, he was interviewed in the show. It was a better name than that. It was a cult what's it called? Damn, I'm blanking. Like interventionist, I believe.
Okay.
I believe that was his official title. He was a cult interventionist. I was like, that's a fucking job? How many cults are running around this guy?
A lot.
That's so scary.
There's a lot.
That's so scary.
There's a lot.
But I wish they would have interviewed that guy more. Obviously, I would have loved someone currently in the church and her and maybe her sister. You know, I would have loved more interviews of the meat, which they're not going to accept.
They're not going to get.
But the cult interventionist, I wish he would have gone on a little more. He wasn't that interesting, but I know he's been through some shit. You know, he's seen some crazies.
I believe that. This article seems pretty thorough to me. It was actually just published in August, but only 2 votes, and it's at like 50%. So somebody loved it and somebody hated it.
Poor Natalie. Natalie, I think your work's great.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hit the high spots of the getting away part, and these are the things that I kept thinking about for these people who were clearly wanting to get out.
Yeah,
and a lot of them who actually got out kind of leveraged their way out one way or another.
And you understand leaving, like change is the hardest and worst thing for any human, let alone someone with like self-esteem or anxiety or depression, right? And then the things we talked about, which. Your life's built there. Your mechanic goes to the church.
Yeah.
Your babysitter, your chef, your neighbor, your everyone. And there's probably a big part of you that still believes in what's going on, right? There's just some echo in you saying, I got to get the fuck out of here, right? But, like, that's an argument internally. Externally, it's fucking hard. So, yeah, I mean, step one, pack your things. Like duh, but, like, not duh. There's a lot going on inside your brain. Yeah.
Right. You got to, I will link this article so you can see all the points. But, like, particularly if the cult lives in a compound, although this was like one community and not really a compound.
Yeah, but it's still your house. Like, you got to maybe sell your house if you own it. Like, there's a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, and there are a lot of eyes on you is
for
the
sure
thing, because that's, I mean, a cult doesn't really work without control.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
Distributed control.
They talk about cell phone stuff, and then they talk about Facebook. One member just gave fucking Ted Anger her Facebook, I think.
Yes.
We were like, I don't know if I'd do that to anybody.
No.
Like, what? Ted Anger needs to update my top 5 friends and my status? Like, why does he need access? It's fucking weird.
Wasn't that MySpace?
Yeah, MySpace. No, I was just bouncing around. Bouncing my references.
That
was another good meme I saw. Now that we're talking, someone said, like, it was a text message picture, and it was names by top 5, and he said, man, I wish Instagram or Facebook would bring back the top 5 so I didn't have to text out my list every day. Like, he's texting his friends where they ranked.
That's great. Number 2 on this was making a list of people who could help you, and I think that's. I think that we're not probably talking to anybody who's inside of a formal cult, but I think that a good number of people know people who have ended up in these circumstances.
But you'd imagine if you're deep in this thing, and everyone that was interviewed, they were in the cult and then left, obviously, or in the church and left, whatever the hell you guys want to call it. I don't want to offend anybody out there, all the Remnant listeners. They were there for a long-ass time. No one was there for a year. Everyone was there for 5, 6, 7 years. So you'd imagine everyone you know, 90% of people you know is probably in the church too.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe your mom lives in California or something, but like you're stuck in this thing. Like these things are hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So the third step is finding a place to stay, which is a huge thing. And I will just point out too that I did not pull up a list of things to do if you're a battered spouse and you're trying to get out of a relationship, but all of this is really close in my mind. Really, really close.
Yeah, it's a power control dynamic where someone's controlling you in your life.
A power differential, and for some reason
that was another movie. I saw a live streamer going over it. The movie Maid, MAID, like cleaning maid, or it's a TV series, and it's about basically abuse, and it's like kind of a realistic-ish take on it. Although I don't think it's a real story. It might be. I don't know. But a lot of vibes like this. Like they actually build up better than this documentary. Obviously, it's a story, so their job is to tell the story. But they really build up like the control power dynamic and the small manipulations. Because everyone's like, oh, was you punch you in the eye? Like, yeah, that's abuse. But like the small manipulations that are going on, like money control, cell phone control, when you can leave, when you can eat, like all these little things, and it builds it up a lot. And then it goes into the system of where you go and how you deal with it. And if you don't have, stabs and cuts all over you, can you get into a shelter? And like it kind of goes into some of that, as far as I know, and as far as the live streamer that I was watching, who has sadly personal experience in this world, it seemed realistic-ish.
Yeah. So I said, find an opportunity to get away. Stop attending services and meetings. That's got to be hard.
Yeah, if you don't have 1 through 3 set up, can you really do 5?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Part 2 is stay safe, which is basically keep your plans secret, which I think has got to be one of the hardest things for people, period, especially if you give yourself the how exactly I want to say this, but like if you start entertaining the idea that you're not going to have to put up with it anymore, there's a weird mental freedom that comes with that. You say, "Oh, I'm not going to have to deal with this anymore."
Or who do you tell?
Yeah.
If you can't tell anyone because you don't have those people, then that's hard too.
Yeah.
Because you're scared. You literally feel isolated, even more isolated.
And it used to be a lot easier to disappear and change your identity and your name and all that stuff. And now it's damn near impossible. Yeah. You got to be getting into WITSEC or something,
hire
this relocation program. Document your interactions with group members after you leave, and I think that's a thing about leaving a relationship too. That you need to be able to talk about the things that actually happened to you. For a number of reasons. For one of them, to confront them for yourself. Because,
psychologically.
Yeah, because you disassociate certain things because they're too hard to think about. Focus on yourself instead of trying to rescue other members of the cult. And then finally determine whether to involve law enforcement. Like if you're literally being physically...
That kid's under investigation in the family, right? They mentioned that a little bit. But then they kind of just said it went to the kid that got beat to death. They just said that it was...
No, he got convicted. He got convicted of murder.
Oh, because I thought they said something like, or maybe it was before the investigation then, because it said like the doctors just said it was, what's it called? Infant. Because
they lost more than one child. Is that different? Is it a different family?
I thought it was the same family. I thought it was the kid that they beat to death, and then the doctors didn't say anything, and they said like, what's it called? Infant.
SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome.
Yeah,
no, I think that was separate. That was one child, and then there was the child that they basically put into a like a crate or a trunk or something and smacked it down on his head. And Yeah. So I mean, the rest of it has to do with the aftercare from that situation. But like, and I'm not saying if you know somebody in this situation that you should be reaching out to them and trying to get them out. But I think that when you have conversations with people who are in those situations, maybe be aware of how they're telling you what they're telling you, because
their perspective.
Yeah, because if they're baking in a just enough like dissent or dissatisfaction or fear.
Yeah, humans are just so complicated, you know, like to relate it to something that we do kind of, right? Like if you're trying to teach someone nutrition, or they want to lose weight, you teach them a little nutrition, you teach them some protocols, maybe even give them a plan to go from heavier to light. And I'm not talking about the weight down. I'm literally just talking about nutrition client.
Yeah.
How hard is compliance? It's really hard, right? I know I'm unhealthy. Maybe I have, pre-diabetic or whatever, or I just want to look better. Whatever the motive, it doesn't really matter. I've decided I've come to Jim for nutrition coaching. He's given me a plan. How hard is it for me to go down that path and do it? Let alone if someone doesn't even know they want that path, right? If we're talking you're in a cult or you're in an abusive relationship or you're an alcoholic, or even if you have, and then those things are. It's all psychology and like addiction-ish, right? Maybe I have a small addiction to food, or my habits are bad with food, and habits are like a minor form of addiction, right? If you have bad habits, you're right next door to addiction. Now you have external things and more emotions tied. You have emotions tied to the cult or the community or the God belief or whatever it might be, or you have emotional attachment to obviously what's going on with your spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it might be. It just makes it so hard that even which is rare, they ask for help. What the fuck, like what? Like that's where like being a human and like literally you're in charge of your life comes into play. Like you kind of got to handle it on your own. Like, yeah, there's support and there's directions and groups and all these things that can teach you. But when you're making the decision, you got to make the decision.
Right.
And like you said, you're definitely, if I can't convince someone to deadlift once a week and follow a program and follow the nutrition, you can't convince someone to leave this.
No.
No that's not my job, and I can't do it. I can help if they come to me like, Mike, I need a place to stay. All right, I'll make my couch for you. But like you can't. Yeah, it's fucking hard.
Yeah, it was like that couple that was trying so desperately to get their daughter out. Like she was into it. She was gone. Yeah. Like how do you?
She's got the religion. She's got the God. She's into it, and she's got the boyfriend.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Exactly. All right, well, I think that's a good place to leave this one. We have an upcoming episode with a couple of our members who are physical therapy doctors. They're legit, and we found a lot of common ground with them.
Yeah, good chat.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have them on multiple times, but good chat with them, and then maybe a podcast after that with the Caffeine and Kilos boys. Who knows what the hell we're going to talk about, but be sure to subscribe. New podcast every single Wednesday and Fridays now. So share it with your friends. Give us a rating or review. It really, really does help. Appreciate you guys. 3sb.co. I'm Silent Mike everywhere you want to find me.
I am at the Jim McDean on all the social media. This show is 50% facts, where percent is a word, and 50, it's just numbers. We'll talk to you next time.